what happened was I basically owned the market on, like I said, I had White Star Pine Lumber Company, and I had White Star steam engines, White Star trains, and White Star, Lucifer White Star. I was an inventor, like I said, and basically owned the market. I had cannons for breaking rock. I had explosives. I had a research team. I was heating the world. I was feeding people. I had the cable thing, using steam power to pull cables. Anyway, what happened was somewhere around 1900 or 1800 or 1700, Roosevelt or somebody, basically they wanted to take the market, and basically they invested everything that they could in this new hot metal, which was basically it was like uranium. Basically, you would heat up and you could put it in your pocket, and people called them hot rocks, and and I think maybe Rodney or somebody, they basically invested everything they had into these things. And they were going to come out with a full line of heaters, and they're going to take the market from the steam emperor, which is basically me. And they were planning on, they built these heaters in secret, and they had this secret thing, and they're going to come out and they were going to take the market and everything. And they basically was these heaters that would heat up water into steam, and you could cook off of them, and they would heat your home, and like some people like the king, a king, and some other people had invested everything they had in these things, and and it might be Rick Bush, Rodney Briley, and other people had invested everything they had into these things that were it was basically hot metal, just got hot, and basically is uranium. 232, and like when you put it with something else, like it would get the reaction going or whatever, and it would get hot. And they had planned on, and they said, well, it's only a problem if you put them together. As long as they're separate, they're fine. And I was like, no, they're not. All your radioactive material, all of those those uranium and stuff, like all matter gives off radiation. How much it gives off is dependent on how hot it is. I said as it gives off more and more particles, it gets hot. It's dangerous. Anyway, about the same time they were saying those lights you see in the sky, they're really just particles that are illuminated by the celestial body that is the sun, and that's why we see those little specks of light. They're actually dust particles that are blown up in the Sahara deserts, and they go up to a great height, and then they hit the sunlight, and that's what those little particles are. Anyway, these same people invested everything they had into basically uranium and mining it, and they bought everything. They spent every dime they had on this stuff. And they were going to take the market from me because I had steam engines and steam power, and I had steam trains, and I basically, I was Lucifer Star, the greatest inventor ever. And this small group of people were going to take the market. And so they took every penny they had and every penny that a lot of other people had, and they put it all into mining and researching radiation. And a lot of them died. Like I said, I tried to tell them, I was like, no, that's uranium. That's bad. It's a known particle. Like I said, the Curies and some of my scientists, I was like, it's bad. It's dangerous. We've already done research on it. It gives off particles. That's why it gets hot, is because when the particles come together, it's reacting. It's a reaction. It gets hot, and it's radiation. That's why the metal gets hot. Anyway, when you take the two pieces of metal together, they would get, I forget exactly how radiation works, but basically you have two things, and when they get put together, I don't really know that much about radiation. I was just basically Lucifer Star, the inventor, and I invented steam and steam power and steam engines and the combustion engine and everything else like that. And these entrepreneurs, aristocrats, were investing everything they had into mining and taking the market on radiation. they had all but 4 of the mines, and they had like threatened and killed and borrowed and stole every cent they had and put it all into radiation. And then I came out with this thing saying, because I owned the Hoover Dam, hydro dams, I was going with safe natural power, agua, and water, because I was like, we have water, we have wood, we have coal. What do we need this for? It's dangerous. It kills people. We can make all the power we need from the rivers. Like I've been using it for my textiles and for my dynos for forever. We don't really need nuclear power. Anyway, so these people had invested everything they had, every penny, into this stuff, and they were even planning on coming out with these little nuclear thingies. And I had some nuclear generators or whatever. I had a couple that I was working on, but they were really dangerous, and you had to be really careful. And I came out with a couple that produced power, but we were doing safety studies on them. Stuff. We were being very, very, very careful about it. Like I say, with everything I do, I'm always really careful. Anyway, these other people were going hot and fast. Jumping with both feet, and they were jumping into radiation, basically with both feet, and they were planning. They had already built the cases for the heaters, and they were planning on having these things where the plates would move together, and it would create water, and you could even cook off of it. And they had planned, they had marketed it, and they had even shipped a couple, and they basically shipped these radioactive or radiation thingies that pretty much, and they had people cooking off of it saying, oh, it's perfectly safe. See, it's on the film. They're safe. And these people had died like days later, and they were still coming out with it. And they invested every penny, and they basically, sold a bunch of things, and they were basically really dangerous. And I had to pull them off the market, and actually clean them up safely. But anyway, people slammed me. They said, no, you're just trying to hold back the future. What are you doing? Anyway, because they were going to lose everything, basically. And they had invested all their money. They invested everyone else's money into this stuff. And like I said, it's not ready. It takes time to do this stuff. Anyway, so a bunch of people basically went bust. And when they went bust, I bought the stock, and I basically, and I had to clean up the mess, of course, because like I said, steam trains, Lucifer White Star lines, White Star Power, hydro dams, textiles, cotton mills, cotton gins. Like I own the market. And these other people were planning on stomping me into the ground. But I was like, no, that's dangerous. You can't do that. Anyway, they went and checked out where these things were at, and everyone was dead. Of course. They shipped a couple of these stoves or whatever. I don't really know what they were. They were like stoves and heaters, and they shipped these things, and everyone that died at the plant, there's a plant where they had the people working, and everyone was dead at the plant. Everyone was dead at the stores, and they all died from radiation poisoning, like within like a couple years. Anyway, and it was just like the Black Death or whatever. And these people had invested everything they had, and basically they were the worst people ever. And they slammed me saying that I was trying to hold back the future. They did this, they did that. It's like radiation. Nuclear power plants are not safe. I mean, they're kind of safe. Anyway, I had told everyone, all my people, to go with hydro dams and say good safe power. I mean, steam. It's safe. It's clean. It works great. Why go with something that's untested and unproven? And I saved millions or billions of lives. And this small group basically sent all these things out, and people were driving these cars that were like radiation, and they died within they died before their cars wore out, basically, or they died before the stoves, they died in days or months or years, and it was like the worst thing ever. So